CineSmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds. Lawrence?
Ladies and gentlemen! Welcome to the main event! This is CineSmack! And the winner is...
Hello, CineSmacketeers, and welcome to bout number 89 of CineSmack, the podcast about films by filmmakers. I am your host, Mike Keeler. Joining me tonight is our panel of award-winning judges that just walked in. First, filmmaker and owner of One Genome Short Productions, Gabriel Game Over Man.
Oh, wow. I get to be first?
Yeah.
I'm not used to this. I don't know what to do.
Just smile.
Welcome. You're terminated.
Second, writer, actor, and director, Kyle. I taught Charlton Heston how to work out fine.
If you look at my body, it's totally believable.
I'm sorry, man. I've been waiting a month to say that.
Oh, these two movies, so much better than Earthquake.
Yes.
Amazing. It's so great.
Third, filmmaker and owner of Cheshire Moon Films, Tom, come with me if you want to live, Haggis.
This Hasta La Vista, baby. Isn't that, I got it right this time.
Yeah.
Good one.
Fourth, filmmaker and owner of Arizona Ink Studios. Welcome our newest host, Andrew, get away from her, you bitch, Zumwalt.
Game over, man! Game over!
Oh, he's calling for you, Gabe.
Yeah.
He is what?
Yeah.
What's up?
Just real quick, I wanted to say that we want to wish Tosh the best of luck with his new job. That's why he's been sporadically on. He's been having a lot of trouble finding the time to share his opinions on CineSmack, and we felt it best that maybe Tosh should worry about his job until it calms down, because, we're just a little podcast. And don't worry, he will grace us with his presence from time to time. All right. I want to say, first off, I rewatched these films that we're going to speak of, and holy crap, I enjoyed myself a lot. A lot more than Earthquake, Kyle. So let's poke the monkey, find out what we're talking about.
Ladies and gentlemen, xenomorphs and cyborgs, welcome to the main event! Tonight, we pit James Cameron against himself in a fracas from the future. Which one will win and which one will cry? Game over, man! Game over! In the first corner, from 1986, written and directed by James Cameron, starring Sigourney Weaver, Michael Biehn, and Carrie Henn. Alien! In the second quarter, from 1991, written by James Cameron and William Wisher, directed by James Cameron, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, and Edward Furlong. Terminator 2!
Tonight, we are discussing not only two James Cameron films, but both sequels, and both sequels often considered better than the original films that they follow. So this should get interesting. And our first category, round, whatever you want to say, is writing.
I'm just going to do that before every category. We don't have to pay
awesome.
for
I
that,
like it.
right?
Yeah.
No, we
I
don't
think
have
we
to.
do.
I
Might have
mean,
to.
No, we're good.
oof,
We're good.
I sound different enough.
Right. It's your own kind of artistic.
Yeah, it's an
interpretation.
homage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the ticket. Okay, so so I'm supposed to talk about the writing on both of these. I think first of all, we'll talk about like the story. So I think that the story on both of these is really good. You know, so when Terminator 2 first came out, I saw Terminator for the first time the night before. So my big brother was like, "We're sneaking you in, but you got to watch the first one first, or you won't know what's happening." So I did, and let's see. So 91, I was 15 at the time. Anyway, so I thought the Terminator 2 strength comes from taking what I mean. I'm going to be honest with you. Terminator was not a good movie, and it very easily could have just like disappeared into bad 1980s science fiction movies, but because Terminator 2 was pretty well done and so well received, it actually created a whole franchise. I think I would argue that the franchise really got going with Terminator 2. Terminator, I don't really know if it stands very well on its own. Alien on the other side, I really like Aliens, but I feel like the story is kind of a rehash of the first one. I mean, I don't feel like the story really grows that much in terms of, they kind of go to where the aliens are living, and the aliens fight back, and then they fight back the aliens, and they get away. And I don't feel like there's enough of a leap in the story when compared to Terminator 2, whereas Terminator 2 took all the ideas of the first story and just completely just fucked with your head with time, and brought in some really cool philosophical questions about your dad, you're friends with your own dad, and creepy stuff like that. So dialogue wise, I think both of them are pretty decent. Not Bill Paxton's best performance, but I attribute some of that to the story on Aliens, because they don't give him the best lines.
What? I don't know. I think he's awesome. But that's for our next round.
Yeah. So I think that some of the dialogue in Aliens isn't quite as good as Terminator 2, but going back on it, I thought when I sat down to watch these that I'd really like Terminator 2, and boy, it hit a point where I've seen Terminator 2 so many times, and I watched it a lot between like 91 and 95. I watched it a lot. When I sat down, and I probably haven't watched it maybe 2 or 3 years, I still knew every beat and every look and every line, and I got done with it and I just like felt nothing. Like it wasn't nostalgic at all. It was just kind of like, I think I've milked every ounce of enjoyment out of this movie. And it's just kind of sad. Blame me for watching it so much as a kid. So I think, that was the big surprise for me, is just how much Terminator 2, just like, I was so excited to sit down and watch it. And it's still a really good movie, but I don't know. There wasn't like a single surprise or I never noticed that before moment in the entire thing. So it just blew my overall comment now. God damn it. Why did somebody cut me off?
Good show, guys. All right.
Well, Tom,
Don't worry,
Tom,
Tom.
next month.
We can send you back in time to before this happens.
Yeah, start over.
Oh.
That's good. I've got my Zemeckis cube. I'll just back things up here. Anyway, I think I don't know. I feel like the story-wise, I think Terminator 2 is just stronger, just because they built on the Terminator story, and it's evident because I feel like it's a pretty widely accepted movie in terms of building the franchise on. But Aliens did the same thing for the Alien franchise, so I don't know. Somebody fucking cut me off, please.
Okay, you're done, Tom.
Jeez.
I need your bike and your keys, and for you to stop talking.
I'm just looking for the mute button.
He found it.
But you found it. You found it.
Mid-sentence.
Yeah, both these movies very well written. Sequels always a little tricky because you have to convince the audience we have to do this thing again. So this is all going to happen again, or parts of it's going to happen again. And you know, at the beginning of Aliens, Ripley's like, "There's no way, absolutely not, never going to see these aliens again." Blah blah blah. Pretty quick turn, and I'm going to see these aliens again. Terminator 2. Now, here's the shocking for you guys. I've never seen Terminator 2 before. This is my first viewing of Terminator 2. It's my first viewing.
You made me so proud when you said that you watched it. I was so happy.
So I'm so Terminator.
Jealous.
I've seen Terminator. Honestly, no. It's one of those things that I think I had seen so many clips of it and things on the MTV Movie Awards, and I saw the live action ride at Universal Studios. So I'd probably felt like I've already seen all of this movie. Like, it's such a popular movie that I'd probably seen 80% of it, despite never sitting down to watch it start to finish before.
Well, this will be an interesting perspective then.
Yeah,
I'm sure all of us have seen it except you.
Yeah, I'm sure most people in the world have seen it before I've seen it. I have a friend who's very into 80s and 90s movies, and he knew this was coming up. So he bought the Blu-ray when it was on sale and said, "You're coming over and you're watching this with me." Mm-hmm. So we had like a 4 or 5 person viewing of Terminator 2. And I sat down to take notes. And honestly, about 5 minutes in, I realized I'd put my pad down and I was just watching the movie. Like, I wasn't taking notes. Kind of the same thing happened with Aliens. Anyways, where was I going? Sequels can always be a little difficult. You have to do some of the same things, but different enough it doesn't feel like you're doing the same movie again. They carried over a lot of the story from Alien to Aliens, and I have seen Terminator. I think Terminator keeps the story, the main elements of the story, tighter and closer to the first Terminator. Alien goes from sort of a slow burn horror film into a 80s action movie, which is great, still really good, but a bigger departure than Terminator 2 is from Terminator, I would say. Terminator 2, also, I'll give credit for being they do not overly complicate the time travel. They don't bash it into your head or make it so confusing that it's obviously a huge paradox. They tell you just enough so that you don't feel like it's stupid, and then they're off on car chases and blowing shit up, and you're like, I'm fine with this. I think that's just the way to do it. Unless you're making a movie like Primer or Looper or something like that, you don't have to explain all the time travel shit. And that's where the movies go off the rails as you go further into the Terminator franchise. They start paying attention to the one part of the Terminator movie nobody gives a shit about, the time travel, conundrum, paradox stuff. Show me the crazy robots and the action and all that stuff. That's, you know. But both of these franchises, we can talk about, you know, in an aftermath way, how they've completely changed from where they started and now where they're at, because these franchises are still active franchises 20 years later, which is really crazy. Most things don't stand the test of time. But I think these are probably the prime examples of these movies in their series, and I think the writing fits that. I think these are probably the best written movies in these series as well.
Yeah, I agree. I think both of these are really well written. I think we're going to have a lot of cine agree on this part of it, especially. But both are really well written. That, you know, the character development is good, and I feel like they're both strong extensions of the original films. Although I think Tom is right. You know, the Aliens does. I didn't think about it until he said it. But it does seem kind of like there's not a lot of substance there necessarily. They go back to where the aliens are, shit happens, and then they go back home. Kind of, to a certain degree. Although it's really entertaining and exciting shit that happens in between. But it doesn't really necessarily extend kind of the story of aliens or our understanding of them necessarily. But both are really, really solidly written films.
Yeah, you're right. I would agree as well. I think that all of the writing in it stands the test of time. They have launched many more movies and many things that people replicate due to how well the story has continued through the ages. I think it's interesting that you say that Aliens was really no extension to the Alien universe of the story, because growing up, I actually thought Aliens was a reboot of Alien because I didn't realize it was actually a sequel.
Mm.
And it's because I think that it tells a similar story. Now, I will say that this time around, I thought this was really fascinating. I really picked out, they really focused in on more of almost a family story in both films. The writing was very family centric. And I thought that was really fascinating that I noticed that now, as opposed to when I watched them the first time and it was, oh, these are action and horror and aliens and this is all cool. And now I look at it, I'm like, oh, there's really a family story involved in both of these films that actually connect deeper than just aliens and robots. So I would definitely say that out of all of the writing, based even with just story, but the dialogue, when it comes to that, some of the best, most iconic lines that people repeat today and people even make fun of in movies and they parody and they even say them came from these two movies, which is really fascinating to me. Yeah, I'll be back. Game over, man. Anything? Hasta la vista, baby. These are people actually talk about these and actually do these sayings still today.
That's absolutely true. Just like, get away from her, you bitch.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot for some reason.
You do?
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I don't
want
use
to
that
get
one
into
as
it.
much, but yeah.
Kind of hurts my feelings. Sorry. No, I find it funny after watching this. I always credit Jurassic Park as the movie that made me want to make movies. But after
Jurassic
watching
Park was?
yeah. But after watching Terminator 2, it was just this rush of nostalgia that I got back. And I just remembered my older brother and I going to see it like 5 or 6 times. I think we went to see it. I had the trading cards. I had the comic.
Yeah.
I had I went absolutely nuts. And that's that's when my man crush on Schwarzenegger started. And I went out and I started buying all of his movies, some better than others. Right now, still on my bookshelf is my Arnold Schwarzenegger's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding, which I used in high school. And I just, I don't know. And my hair, I was watching the movie. I'm like, oh my God, this is where I got my hairdo. And it's
your current hairdo?
Yes, my current hairdo that I've had for 20 some years.
And he looks good in this movie.
Yeah. I loved watching it. And Aliens, and I know this has nothing to do with writing, but Aliens was the first one I had seen. I hadn't seen Alien first. So to me, Aliens was always the first film. And then they're like, no, there's one called Alien. I'm like, wait, what? There's only one? And I don't know. I thought naming it Aliens, as a sequel and there's more, I thought it was kind of cool back then. I still do. But yeah, writing, I can't disagree with anything that you guys said. So I'll shut up now. And how about we...
Aliens is better than Alien 2.
Yeah, that's true.
Yes.
All right. If you guys have nothing else to say about writing, let's go ahead and put it to a vote. We will start with Tom.
Terminator 2.
Kyle. Oh God, Kyle's dead. The Terminator guy.
Was he terminated or did an
know.
alien get him?
I don't
What
know.
happened?
Hey, Wolfie, what's wrong with Kyle?
Kyle's fine, honey.
It's unless he's hit the mute button again, which I'm guessing that he
You're
did.
muted.
All right. Well, we'll move on to Andrew.
I would give this one to Terminator.
All right. And Gabe.
Yeah, wow. These are tough. These are both really well written films. But I think Tom's argument convinced me to go with Terminator 2.
All right. Kyle, are you there? Kyle. Oh my God. They've killed him.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, you're on.
Oh no, Miles Dyson came through. I did this once off mic. I don't have the energy to do it again.
All right, we're voting.
Oh,
for
do
writing.
I get a vote for writing?
Yes.
It's Terminator 2, but it's close. These are both iconic movies. They're good.
All right. I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you weren't terminated.
Thanks. Yeah, well, you don't know if I've been replaced by a T-69.
That was the lower model.
Yeah.
Oh, I am. I'm as low as it can go.
Yeah, that's a low-end model.
That was the one that had the stick shift. It was weird.
I'm mostly bumpers.
For Terminator 2, the original script did not call for the top of the wrecker semi-truck to be ripped off during the chase scene through the storm drain beneath the freeway. But when they arrived on location, they found out that the cab would not fit under the overpass. So director James Cameron decided that the roof was going to have to come off. The knife trick in Aliens was not in the original shooting script, according to Lance Henriksen. The adding of Hudson's hand to the knife trick was discussed with almost everyone except Bill Paxton. It's awesome.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. All right, let's move on to our second round, which is acting.
Oh, that's me. Okay. Well, before we diverge and decide, let's talk about all the things these movies have in common, like Michael Biehn and the lady who played Vasquez. Mm-hmm. And Bill Paxton is in both of these universes.
Yes, he is.
Like, they share a lot between Terminator and Aliens. And I think this was around the time the first Terminator was being made, 85 or 86. Because from what I read, they borrowed a lot of the actors and some of the, like the tank. Their armored personnel carrier was just something they took from the movie Terminator and put the name of the ship on. It was like, let's do it. This has nothing to do with acting. Okay. As far as acting goes, let's start with Terminator 2. Lots of good actors in the movie. And I would say that I believe Arnold Schwarzenegger is probably the best actor in Terminator 2. If you go by the job of an actor is to, live and breathe in a role, be believable, deliver their dialogue in a believable way, he seems like a robot. He's great. They wrote all the right dialogue for him. He delivers it perfectly. He never stutters or hesitates. He always seems confident. He can hold that pose and that face. It's like the role he was created to play. Linda Hamilton is scary and genuinely seems crazy at points. A lot of the peripheral actors are really enjoyable. They do their job well. My one complaint would be Edward Furlong, who I'm not a big fan of, and I don't believe at all was 10. I think he was 14 or something like that, but he looks 16, and they're telling me he's 10 years old. So I did not enjoy him too much. Moving on to Aliens, Sigourney Weaver reprising Ripley was, awesome. Not as good as maybe she was in Alien. But my standout performer in Aliens was Paul Reiser, who was a great, smarmy bad guy, but he also was very charming and seemed like he was on your side. I really liked his performance, and I loved Lance Henriksen as Bishop. I thought he was great. So yeah, both very well acted movies, both sharing some of the same talent in their universe. And yep, gonna stop talking now.
Yeah, well, I'm a little bit afraid that we really are gonna get into the Cine agree kind of situation here. There's not gonna be a lot of smack talking here, but
Well, whatever you're about to say is wrong.
Yeah, like what you just said.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Fight me.
No, both of these are pretty well acted. Although I did feel like, for some reason, having seen these movies when I was younger, and then revisiting them recently, there was a part of me there's a part of me that really holds Terminator 2 very dear, and it's a movie that I really enjoy. But upon revisiting it and thinking about it from our kind of CineSmack terms, I felt like the acting was a little bit weaker in Terminator 2. Edward Furlong, I didn't think was a really strong actor, but I do believe that Arnold Schwarzenegger in general I don't think is a great actor, but he's likable on screen, and a robot is the actual perfect role for him. And so that he works in that role. I like Linda Hamilton. I think she did pretty good, but I'm not sure that the acting overall was all that great in Terminator 2. And I found myself in yeah. I felt myself liking the acting better in Aliens. Now somebody mentioned Bill Paxton earlier, and so
That was me.
I really think maybe he didn't have a lot to work with, and he was maybe kind of over the top, but there was something I really liked about his character in that. It's like this kind of, it's a little bit of levity in this really kind of bleak and disturbing situation. And he also gets a good kind of arc. He gets a good character arc where he's pretending to be macho, and then he ends up being a pussy. But then at the end, he kind of gets to redeem himself a little bit. And so I really liked him in that role, and he really goes through that. As an actor, I felt he went through that arc, and I felt like the acting was a little bit stronger in Aliens. But I don't know. They're both well done and well cast, I think. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, I would say that I think Terminator 2 has better acting, just due to the fact that there's a more believable connection when you watch it. Again, it goes back to some of that. They really are pushing some of that family storytelling, and seeing actually Arnold and your young John Connor kind of in that weird engagement, and then making the Terminator have this kind of goofy, almost humorous role, and he's awkward but yet still a robot at the same time. It just really pulls everything together, because Linda Hamilton as Sarah, she is definitely supposed to be the main center because it's her story, but they, I think, steal the show. Their interaction, their humor, their weird buddiness almost is so much cooler, and I really think brings out that film. And in comparison, in Aliens, they do something very similar with Ripley and Newt, and even though Sigourney Weaver's a great actress, it feels very awkward. Even like the first time she finds her, when they're looking and they find this blip, and she's like, "Oh, it's a kid! Get her out! Get her out!" And she's like all crazy, and I'm like, "You need to chill out. She's just in there, and she's already scared. Chill out." And it just, their relationship seems really forced, and then it's sort of like, "I'm your mom," and she kind of cuddles up, and it's just, I don't know, it's a different kind of feel. As to everybody else in Aliens, Bill Paxton, he is your comic relief. I guess that's the way I've always looked at him in Aliens. He takes that almost thriller horror that we're in the middle of and makes this, I can kind of laugh a little bit about this film and not make it quite so heavy. So I did enjoy him. Kyle, I would 100% agree with you that I really thought Paul Reiser was one of the most squirmy, wormy weirdo in that film, but yet you love him. He's the kind of guy that you think he's getting laid all the time, but you know he's not behind the scenes because he just can never close the deal.
He's paying for it though, and he's telling everybody he's not.
Right. So
he's
you
great.
know, so it's pretty cool. I would definitely say that through all of it that you have a much stronger core with Terminator. But again, I will agree with everyone saying that this is pretty close because it's hard. These are iconic movies of that time that our generation and I'm sure many others, they grew up on these. They know these movies. Yeah, I'm rambling.
Someone save him.
I thought, Ed Furlong gets a lot of grief for his Terminator stuff, and rightly so, because he is kind of the weak part of the acting in it. But I mean, Linda Hamilton makes up for it, and then Sigourney Weaver she just completely kicks ass in Aliens. When she decides to go back in for Newt, and she's going down the elevator, and she fucking comes out. I'm like, God, don't piss her off.
Yeah.
And James Cameron clearly has a type. I mean, Michael Bay has a type. James Cameron clearly has a type. And I mean, I don't ever want to piss off Catherine Bigelow because I'm pretty sure she just fucking ripped me in half.
Yes, I agree.
They were married, and I mean, I can only imagine how fucking tough she is. So I think the two leading ladies in both of these are to the strong point. I don't really think Schwarzenegger's performance is, I don't know. I mean, how hard is it to be a robot? I guess. I don't know. It's like one of the first things you do when you're a kid and you're doing play acting, so I don't know. There, did I save you? Is that good?
He's a really good-looking guy who's a 3 out of 10 actor, but he's really good at doing this. And they're like, guess what? We're going to give you so much this to do. You're going to look awesome. So they gave him all these lines and made him look like a badass robot, and it just works. It works so well.
Oh my God, it works perfectly.
Yeah, he's perfect for that role. And why not?
Have you watched?
He's fun to watch.
We watched Jingle All the Way together, Tom, on this, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you tell Arnold Schwarzenegger, act like a human. That's what happens. He destroys your movie.
He's more realistic as a robot.
Absolutely.
Or like I think he's good as someone like Conan, or Conan, however.
Conan O'Brien.
Yeah, he would. If they ever do a biopic about Conan O'Brien, it should be played by Arnold Schwarzenegger. They seem so similar.
So many.
But that kind of like, brutish, simple but enigmatic kind of, I don't know, character.
Always look like you're flexing. Don't move your face.
Right.
That's it. Those are 2 directions. And he's like, no problemo.
Talk slower. Talk slower. Slower.
Why?
I can't talk any slower.
I would love to see Schwarzenegger in a George Lucas movie, because George Lucas always did the faster, more intensity. And Schwarzenegger's like the opposite. Slower. Calm the fuck down.
He could be a robot.
Yeah.
But you almost kind of have feelings for the Terminator when he's being lowered into that.
Oh, you absolutely do. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
Later in it.
And so it's like, so you can have feelings for a robot and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
But isn't that partly because they built such a relationship? I mean, you kind of feel bad for him.
Yes.
He's learning.
Yes.
Learning to be human.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
See, that's one of those things that I've lost. Like this time when I watched it, I was just like, see you, dude. And I know there was a point where I had an emotional connection to him, then that happening to him. And like just not there anymore.
Yeah.
I'm
It's
dead
hard
inside.
when they teach him to be human, but he still shoots 1,000 people in the knees.
Yes.
Like,
He
that
ought to-
was, yeah.
But he kept his promise, which was he wasn't
He
going to
did.
kill anybody.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, I don't like people who keep promises like that. It's not the kind of friend I want. I only beat him half to death. Oh, thanks.
All right. You guys have anything else to say about acting?
What would he say instead of "you're terminated"? You're yeah,
You're kneecapped.
you're mutilated.
You're mutilated. There you go. You're infirmed.
Infirminated.
Infirminated.
You're handicapped.
All right, let's vote. Kyle.
I'm the Infirminator. I'm here to make you walk more poorly and lose motor function. Vote for these movies. Man, oh man. For sci-fi epic action films, the acting is of a very high caliber. For me, Paul Reiser tips it over. I'm going to give it to Aliens.
Would you say that you're mad about him?
Oh.
I think that are they rebooting?
I feel like you've been Helen hunting for that one for a while.
Oh, nice. Oh, nice.
Andrew. Andrew, what do you vote?
Yeah. Again, these are two strong, very strong acted films. I can enjoy, but I would Terminator. I have to go with the Terminator.
All right, Gabe.
Yeah, I agree. They're both really pretty good as far as acting is concerned. But I'm going to go with Aliens.
All right, Tom.
I can't believe we didn't talk about the actual acting of the aliens in Aliens. They were like, it was like a silent film for part of it, where you just had to like, oh my God, is she like pushing an egg out or is she angry? But anyway, I'm gonna go with Aliens on this one.
All right. Oh, it's my turn. Trivia. In Aliens, Bill Paxton continuously apologized to Carrie Hent throughout filming every time Hudson had to swear in front of her. Carrie later admitted that she didn't mind, mainly because she really didn't know what any of the words meant. Terminator 2, a female passerby actually wandered onto the biker bar set, thinking it was real, despite walking past all of the location trucks, cameras, and lights. Seeing Arnold Schwarzenegger standing in the bar dressed only in boxer shorts, she wondered aloud what was going on, only for Schwarzenegger to reply that it was a male stripper night. I thought that was awesome. All right, let's move on to our third round, which is directing.
Dun, 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 dun.
Thank you.
I missed one because Miles Dyson
You
took
did.
me through a time
You
portal.
did. Here, record another one right now. Michael will cut it in.
Dun, 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 dun.
I'm not doing that.
Damn it!
Well, now I just look like a fool, don't I?
Sing
Well,
the
you
tune
tried.
to
It was
Aliens.
good. It was good effort.
Directing, that's me. Things. So there are a couple of things that I really noticed. I watched these two movies back to back, and then I kind of cheated a little and I watched them side by side and went through specific things that I found interesting. Directing, it almost felt like there was almost two different directors, but there was the same feel going on. So you can't really say it's two different. It felt like two different directors in the sense that there was a lot of really great, beautiful long shots. There are a lot of wide angles, some really crystal clear close-ups in Terminator that are just very strong visuals. And there's a lot of really good music that backs up a lot of the action sequences and a lot of the moments that they put into it, from actually Sarah looking at all the people in the desert town and seeing the families and all of the big, long, wide shots as the trucks come. I mean, there's just these massive, beautiful pictures. In contrast to that, in Aliens, he has this very close, enclosed darkness to everything that is shot. And what's cool about it is in Terminator, he shows you everything. In Aliens, he shows you only enough to make your imagination go until we really start seeing the aliens come in. Everything's dark and mysterious, and there's not a lot of music until it becomes an action. All you hear is sound effects and silence. And I even noticed in the very final battle when Sigourney Weaver is in her big suit and she's beating the crap out of the queen alien, there's no music. It's just sound effects. It's just those two in a raw emotion. And it is dark. There's not a lot of lighting all over the place. It's just the flashing of her light and the darkness and then the window. And I mean, it's so great to see. Like I said, it's like two completely different directions, but they both work for the story that he was trying to convey. And I loved where he went with both of them. And this one is probably the hardest one to make a decision on and pick who would be better or worse, because they worked so well for what he was trying to pull off. That's my big, huge epiphany when I watched these the next.
Yeah, you see a master craftsman who's got all the tools to make two very different movies work that way. He's got all the brushes to create this kind of thing.
But he uses them well.
Yeah. These are both very well directed movies, and despite I think both of them being over 2 hours. Yeah. Keeps the pace, keeps things moving. You never feel like you're just sitting on your hands. And a lot of it is beautiful. I love the aesthetic of Alien and the Aliens universe. I like gritty space travel where you can't believe these ships fly. Who gets on these things and decides, this is safe? The complete opposite of something like a Star Trek, where everything is clean and shiny and looks like it could handle interstellar traffic. Especially in the first Alien and Aliens, these ships, it looks like something out of Mad Max. Like they just shot that shit out into space. It's crazy. Some of the visuals in Terminator 2 are absolutely incredible. The fire effects, some of the CGI is still really good despite it being 28 years old now. Some of it is a little wonky, and the animatronic game has definitely changed since then. Some of that it throws you out of it a little bit. Aliens has kind of the same issue going on where some of the practical and CGI stuff looks better than others, but I don't really know what you can do. You're kind of limited by technology in that case. I think he got great performances, and in some cases with Bill Paxton, real performances, like captured those performances and used them. I think both were really well done. The only concern I would have about Aliens is how can he not control that little girl's accent? Because she has got wandering accent syndrome like crazy. She's British, she's English. Wait, hold on, that's the same thing. She's English, she's American. She's English, she's American. It's like, man. Maybe, you know what? Maybe it's space. Maybe it's space, and like there's a weird subspecies of humanity that's evolved to have wandering accents. I'm not sure.
There you go.
Well, the T-1000, I have to say, still holds up today.
Yeah, looks cool. For the most part, there are just little bits of the CGI that look a little bit goofy, but considering how old this movie is, it's really incredible.
Yeah.
The way the things in these movies look and still hold up. That's just top of the line quality work at the time, you know.
Oh yeah.
So I watched Terminator 2, and I wasn't completely like, okay, so I did notice one thing that I hadn't noticed before on Terminator 2. The editing is really, really good. Particularly the chase through what is that? The gorge, the drainage sewage thing.
That's the L.A. River.
The L.A. River. Okay, so the semi chase down.
We saw that in Earthquake.
Yeah, we did.
Yes, we did.
Oh, yes.
Will we see it in the next? Will we see it next
Wow.
month? I hope so. I was watching it and I was just like stunned at how well it was put together and logistically, you know, putting the camera where it needs to be and being able to piece together not just the time that certain events happen as they're going down the river, but also the just the spatial things, you know, that you always had a constant idea of how far back, you know, the T-1000 was from John the entire time. And it built intensity really well. And that scene was, I don't know, it was like an editing handbook. I thought it was just really, really incredible. I don't really remember any scenes like that from Aliens where, you know, it was put together in such a concise way that I knew everything that was happening and where all the pieces were. But they're working in Aliens. They're working in such a confined space that's a little bit tougher to do. You know, you can't get a big wide shot when you're trapped, you know, in a 5-foot wide tunnel fighting, you know, 14 aliens coming down. So I did love when they're in the med lab and, you know, they're trying to figure out where the aliens are and they're up top. And Hudson that goes up or Hicks goes up and looks through the ceiling tile and they're like right fucking there. Yeah. I screamed. I've seen the movie like 10 times and I still screamed. I was like, oh shit. So, so those two scenes like really stood out for me and, you know, people give James Cameron a lot of crap for Avatar, but, I mean, the guy, he does still put together, I don't know, has he put together a bad movie? I mean, some of them are overlong and that kind of thing, but the guy has as good a track record as anybody, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. With this 5-year stretch, I was actually looking online. What's the best 5-year stretch you can think of a director? Because within 5 years, he directed Terminator 2, and Aliens. That's a crazy 5-year stretch of a career. Like, yeah, I'm sure Spielberg's had crazy ones. There's actually a list. Yeah, there's a list on IMDb of the best 5-year runs by directors. And some of them are really incredible, but I would put James Cameron up there against almost anybody else.
How many movies can you make in 5 years?
The Terminator, Alien. Okay, so this is 84 to 94. So it's a 10-year run. The Terminator, Aliens, The Abyss, Terminator 2, and True Lies.
Yeah.
All of them in 10 years. All of them good movies.
Sure. I'm not sure The Abyss was like as popular.
No.
But
it's so good though.
Great.
It's a great movie though.
Yeah, but it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a good movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and one thing that we talked about earlier was that these are sequels. Now, one is a sequel to a different director's film, and one is a sequel to his own film. And I think making a sequel to your own film, your own idea, and that kind of thing would be easier. But I think making sequels is difficult to start with, you know, because it's like, well, how do we extend this, and how do we make it something that people are interested in and are going to spend money on to go see, you know? And I think he did a fantastic job in both cases. Now, the interesting thing about the Aliens sequel is how it kind of changes the tone of it, because I feel like Alien is more of kind of a suspense horror kind of film. It's a much smaller scope than Aliens, and it's a classic in its own right. So it's like, wow, how do you follow that up? Well, and then how do you sell the idea? I'm gonna take this kind of tense thriller horror kind of thing, and I'm gonna turn it into an action film. Well, if anybody told you that, you would probably like laugh at them and say, "Good luck." But he did it, and made it really faithful to the original, and also made it really exciting and fun and interesting. Because I mean, it's got to be one of my favorite movies of all time, and I really appreciate the original. But the Aliens is probably the one I would go to first to watch again, because it's it's fun. It's exciting. It's cool, you know. And then Mike, you were talking earlier, I think, about the Terminator and how the Terminator isn't necessarily a great film from a filmmaking standpoint.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, it's a
indie.
little rough. It's yeah, and it's, you know, it was a lower budget. It's a little rough around the edges, but it's a great concept. It's a unique concept, and it's really cool. And I think they extended it for Terminator 2 in such a way that didn't make it like predictable or cliche. It was a great way to extend that film and extend that universe, and take the time travel concept and not make it too complicated, but make you think about it a little bit. Like all of a sudden now, you know, the guy that was coming back to kill, you know, Sarah Connor is now coming back to protect her son, and you know, it's a really interesting and brilliant way to do it. And I think as sequels, that they are both done perfectly. Because I think sequels are harder than just, you know, an original concept in some ways, and I think he pulled it off well.
You have an expectation, right? When you make a sequel, you have to be faithful to the source material to a certain extent, and you have to pay off the people who are a fan of that thing that's coming to see that. Both these movies expand on the original, add a lot of richness, detail, and a lot more plot threads going forward. So these things like jump these franchises into like overload. Because then right after Alien, you get, after Aliens, you get Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you go off a cliff. But
same with Terminator, though.
Kind of the same thing happened with Terminator too,
unfortunately.
Right? You see these
and he
movies
wasn't
that
involved
jump
necessarily.
They jump these things into like the mainstream stratosphere, and then the follow-up movies just cannot hold up.
True.
And I would say that at the time when he was doing these, having cult followings of franchises wasn't as popular. You know, to have these people that were expecting great things from the second one and were following for both of these, you know, whole universes that he built already. That was kind of a new thing. People were just latching on to certain things, and he built something and kind of started that franchise love that people do today without even thinking about it.
All right. Well,
Dead air.
There you go.
Dead air.
That was
Sorry,
really well put.
I was pouring another drink.
That was really well put. Yeah, I've read some trivia. I actually have some trivia about aliens that I want to share with you guys. But I agree. When you go in to make a sequel to your own film, you kind of already know, because you went through the first film. You're like, oh, what could I do better? You know, what could we change about this? But then you go to something where you're just a hired director, and you're like, I think you have more to prove, possibly, on directing something that originally wasn't yours. You know?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So, yeah, that would be a tough job. And I don't give James Cameron crap about Avatar. It's just I don't care for Avatar, and I don't hold it against him. It's just not my bag, baby. But after doing Titanic, he went a little crazy with underwater stuff and started exploring that, which is great. You know, he kind of took some time off and didn't really. I shouldn't say time off. I mean, he was shooting stuff while he was down there, but he didn't really kind of get back in that system for a while. But man, yeah, you can't beat Terminator 2 and Aliens in your first, what was it, Kyle, 5 years, right?
Yeah, within 10 years he did both Terminators, The Abyss, and Aliens.
Yeah, and The Abyss.
So that's a really crazy run of movies.
So good. So good. I think he should be up there with, I guess he kind of is one of the best directors out there. especially.
Well, I
when it
think what
comes to
Andrew said
sci-fi.
really made me think about it. I guess I never thought of him this way, but he is a guy who can come in, and it doesn't matter what you need; he can give it to you.
Right.
Short shots, long shots, gritty camera movement, whatever. He can do it. He's got the skills.
Yeah, I agree. And I think also Andrew pointed out, Aliens felt more claustrophobic.
Yeah. It kept with the original movie's feel.
Right.
Everything's dark and hidden, and he kept that, but he also made it so much more action oriented, but he kept a lot of the aesthetic, which I think is amazing.
For sure.
Right.
And you have to give him a lot of credit for that. Because it really did match the look of the aesthetic very much.
Yeah. Yeah. If you'd have told me Ridley Scott directed that movie, I would not have been totally shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And Terminator 2 is just huge. It's an epic. Like it is just these wide shots of crazy, crazy stunts. Like absolutely insane stunt work. And I know we'll talk about that in overall, but it was brilliant. Both films, yeah.
Before there was Michael Bay magic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, let's go ahead and vote. Gabe. Or Andrew, I'm sorry. Andrew.
Yeah. I am actually going to go with Aliens on this one.
Oh, Gabe.
Yeah, it's a tough one, too. It's weird. We don't do this very often where it's the same director. Usually we're picking a director.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to go with Terminator 2 on this one.
Ooh.
Tom.
Terminator 2.
Kyle.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Terminator 2, just because he couldn't control that girl's accent.
Stupid kids.
Nice.
You can never get them to act right.
All right. I want to make sure we talk about him in the overall, but I'll bring this little tidbit in. Director James Cameron asked Stan Winston to direct a teaser trailer for Terminator 2. Cameron did not want the trailer to just be early footage, and so with a budget of $150,000, Winston created a trailer that showed a futuristic assembly line churning out copies of Terminators, all of which look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Cameron was pleased with this trailer as he had fears about audience reactions to trailers showing Schwarzenegger returning as a Terminator after the Terminator in the first film was clearly destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And in Aliens, this is the bit of trivia I wanted to talk about because this is rough. This is really rough. James Cameron faced a big problem trying to win the confidence and respect of the British crew, many of whom had worked on Alien and were fiercely loyal to Ridley Scott.
Oh.
In order to try and convince them he had the talent and skills for the job, he arranged a screening of the Terminator for the crew on the set to demonstrate his abilities. However, most of the crew ignored the invite and didn't bother to show up.
Wow.
Do we know? I would guess he kind of won him over eventually.
I would think so.
He had to replace a lot of people. He had to replace a whole lot of people. That was one of the reasons you have Michael Biehn, Bill Paxton, all these people he knew from Terminator came in. He had I don't want to call it a mutiny, but there was an exodus of people from Aliens.
Here's the rest of that. Hicks was originally played by James Remar, but Michael Biehn replaced him a few days after principal photography began. The often given reason for Remar being removed was due to artistic differences between Remar and director James Cameron. But in episode 128 of Sidebar podcast, Remar states that he was fired from the production because he was busted for possession of drugs. He said it was a period of da-da-da-da-da. But
nice.
there was a lot of mutiny on the set. Michael Biehn got the call on Friday night asking him to take over the role of Hicks and was in London to start filming on the following Monday.
Jeez.
It's crazy. He's really good in it, too. He really is good.
Yeah.
Well, your call sheets are going to be really short when that happens.
Oh, yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
He went through all of that and came out the other side with Aliens. That's crazy.
I can't find the rest of that. But yeah, there was a very large mutiny.
Would it be
crazy.
really hard not to prance a little bit after all that too?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. After, yeah. I guess I didn't look. I mean, how did it do in the box office compared to Alien? I imagine it
let me
probably
see.
kicked its ass. But
Let me
I
see
don't know
here.
that.
Let me see if I can do cumulative worldwide gross $131,060,248 for Aliens. Alien. Let me see. Come on, internet. Yay, internet. There we go. Sorry, I'm downloading too much porn in the background.
Yeah.
Box office was 203,630,630.
Really? So
Yes.
that
So
the
Alien
Alien
made
was
more.
actually better.
Yeah, so Alien actually made more.
Almost. Was it near 100 million more?
Yes, it's almost double more, and they are ranked right now almost the same, 8.4 and 8.5.
I would guess the licensing and merchandising from Aliens was probably much more lucrative though than Alien,
Right.
where you have like Jonesy and the Black Mechanic and yeah, that's all I can remember.
Yeah.
Now with interstellar cereal containers, that's what everyone ever eats.
Right.
Alien's probably much more lucrative to
I'm sure they
I
had
know there were a ton
yeah.
of video games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure they had
Fun
chest
Alien
burster
movies.
toys, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun.
All right, let's move on to our fourth and final round.
Did we
Overall.
vote?
Yeah.
Yes, we voted.
Yeah,
Sorry,
we voted.
I
Come on,
forgot.
Gabe.
I forgot.
You just
Sorry.
interrupted me.
Sorry. God
All right,
damn it.
Kyle, you ready?
Cut that out.
Gabe's been replaced by goddamn Terminator.
Yeah,
God.
a mouthy
Cut it
one.
out.
All right.
Is it my turn? I did acting. I'll start again.
No, you got a certain thing that you have to do.
Oh, yeah. I may have been replaced by Terminator. Do. What a follow-up. Thanks, guys.
Once again, it's Gabe's fault because this is his category.
Damn it.
Oh, Gabe. Gabe's looking around with his red vision trying to figure out everything in his house. He's standing there naked, just coming
Yeah,
out
I'm trying to find clothing right now.
But the funny thing is, the time bubble cut the front half of his house off, so he's standing there naked in front of his whole neighborhood.
Right, there's just a flaming arc at the front of my house here right now.
Oh,
Ugh, God. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. Overall,
Jill comes downstairs and has been like, "Really? You can replace him with Arnold Schwarzenegger?"
yeah. I'd have taken Robert Patrick. Shit, I'd have taken Jason Patrick.
Wow.
Remember him from Speed 2? No? Anybody?
Yeah.
Why is Jill a stand-up comedian all of a sudden?
I don't know. Why is she talking?
She's got a microphone? Oh my God, she flipped 2
Sounds like she's
times.
been smoking for years. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Overall, these are some of my favorite films of all time. I love both of these films. And I remember when I first got a surround sound system, I got a receiver and all these speakers and stuff. It was always Terminator 2 that I demonstrated that with.
Yeah.
So I had my friends over and I'd be like, check this shit out. And it has, and even now, even today, I watched it on just regular. I don't have it on Blu-ray. I just have it on DVD, and I watched it, and it still sounded fantastic. The sound in Terminator 2 is fantastic, and I think that's a testament to James Cameron's kind of standard of quality on stuff. He's got a very high standard, and he may not have always been able to meet that standard, but he was always striving for it. And I think he set a really high standard for both of these films. The visuals, the sound effects, the visual effects, everything is just really top notch on all of these films. And I love them both. It's really hard to choose between these. And I don't know what we want to talk about here, but one thing in overall we often talk about is the music, and Kyle has proven that the music for Terminator 2, which I believe kind of started in Terminator, is somewhat iconic.
It's got a great
It's
beat.
very-
It's very memorable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it got stuck
Yeah.
in my head. I walked around doing that probably for 4 or 5 days. Do 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 do.
Right.
Like,
right.
oh,
Like was
it
cool.
just
Like
gets in
you
your
would do-
head.
Yeah, you'd be grocery shopping and it was
Yeah, I would
like,
for sure.
apples.
I did it for like 10 minutes, and then my wife put a stop to it.
Now, so I think that the music in Terminator 2 is iconic. I don't know if it's really great music.
Will be.
Well, and then of course they capitalized on the whole Guns N' Roses thing too at the time.
Oh, yeah.
But-
Okay, but really,
and that
really,
still works.
I
That
want to.
still works.
I want to
but-
point out after watching it, I went and downloaded Guitars and Cadillacs because I love that song, and I totally forgot about it until I rewatched the movie, and it was in the bar scene.
Yeah. There you
And
go.
just for our listeners, he did it legally.
Yes, I did. I purchased
Right.
it.
Right, absolutely.
But you purchased
But one
it
thing
with
I wanted to point
counterfeit
out-
money.
You will be.
My
One thing I
God.
wanted to point out about Aliens wasn't necessarily the music. I don't. The music in Aliens didn't stand out to me. I'm not sure it was good, but I'm not sure that I really it stood out as like something memorable. But the use of sound, the sound effects, is really important in Aliens. And
Yeah,
that
I watched
that
it with Heather, and the trackers have that
Yes.
beep, that constant
Yes.
beep, and she goes,
Absolutely.
"Oh, I don't like that." I said, "That's
Yeah.
the fucking point."
exactly.
It's like it's supposed to make you feel
Yeah,
anxious.
and
It's
the
great.
fact that it's at high pitch and it gets
Yes.
faster and faster as they get closer and closer, that was brilliant.
Yeah,
use of
it's really
that.
good.
Because you're not consciously thinking this is making me tense, but
Yeah.
it's doing that. And I thought that was a brilliant use of sound there because it builds that tension. There's like kind of technically nothing's happening, but shit's gonna go down soon, and you know it because of that sound.
And it was supposed to be directional, but yet it wasn't directional because it was at times just the beeps, and they're like, "Where's it coming from? It's
Yeah,
from everywhere, and I don't
It's everywhere. Yeah,
And
that's
then
really
they're like,
good stuff.
they're right on top of us, and they're like, but I don't see anything." And it's just, ugh.
Yeah, and it's that sound that really, kind of like punctuates that for you. So yeah, there's some definitely good stuff in there. It's not just like, balls out like action movie blow shit up kind of
Michael
stuff.
No.
There's definitely some
If they did it
build
now-
up and tension there.
If they did it now, there'd be an album with like 12 death metal songs on it. Like they would just heavy metal the shit out of it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
So I don't know. Those are some of the things I like about those. The music in Terminator 2 and the use of sound effects, the effective use of sound in Aliens.
Okay, all right. I got to jump in. I'm sorry. I want to talk about. Oh God, now I lost his name.
wow.
I don't want to jump in. I want to take it back.
It's too late.
Okay.
Get in
Rewind.
Gabe's time
It is
bubble.
a time travel movie. We can go back.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Wait, I'm still
Gabe, is
on.
Mike standing next to you naked
What do you want? Yeah.
as he travels?
Oh my
I'm still
God, Gabe's
naked.
cut in half.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm still,
shit.
what? I'm still naked and scanning.
Yeah.
Oh, scanning.
I want to talk about the special effects.
Yes.
Yes, I think that's important.
The visual effects, the practical effects used in Aliens was just, it's like they watched Alien, and if they had a majority of the crew back anyway, they were like, okay, how can we make this better? And they made it so much better. Like they just, oh my God, some of those scenes. And like Tom even said, when he looks up into the ceiling and you get that gasp and you see all those faces staring back at you, that is a horrifying shot. And some of the miniature work, You know, when the ship's coming down and drops off the tank and the tank goes in, it's just phenomenal. And Terminator 2, we talked about some of the CGI, that's ILM, and they just are always topping themselves. But I like in Terminator 2 some of the practical stunt work. Let's talk about that. The trucks, we discussed, how it felt more epic. And that's because, Cameron's like, oh, we're going to have this car chase. But instead, the bad guy's going to be driving this semi-truck that hauls other semi-trucks. And then they're like, okay, well, how can we top that for the second car chase? Oh, I don't know. We're going to have a helicopter fly under an overpass. There was an actual pilot
that crazy stunt.
That was awesome.
He actually did that. Oh, yeah. And then he's going to get into a bigger semi-truck and try and kill them that way. It is insane. Yeah. The amount of one-upmanship that he does with himself, it's just yeah, and
I think it's amazing, especially in Aliens, the amount of practical effects that they utilize.
Yes,
very convincingly. Because clearly a lot of the aliens are people in suits and. Or puppets in some way or another. And it works. And I think that's a little bit of a lost art. I mean, we rely very heavily on digital effects nowadays.
We do.
Yeah.
And they're getting better. But I felt like when we went from some of that practical stuff to almost purely digital, we kind of stepped back a little bit.
Yeah.
And now it's kind of catching up now. But some directors are embracing that practical stuff a little bit more. I think about Mad Max Fury Road and how they used a lot of it was actual car stunts and that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of directors are embracing that more because it's in some ways it's a little bit more convincing and a little more realistic.
Yeah.
Than a lot of digital stuff.
They're mixing
the two appropriately.
Yes. Yeah.
If you CGI something and your CGI is bad, you break your movie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It kills the realism.
Yeah, and I think there are some directors that are overdoing it for sure. I think Zack Snyder probably overdoes it. Everything, at the climactic parts of these movies, it's like, why do you even have real life actors? Why do you bother?
Right, and
why not forget, just do an animated movie?
Let's not forget the late 90s, early 2000s films that you go back and watch that are so CGI heavy that they're not even using practical effects, and it just looks awful.
Star Wars, all three prequels. Seriously, though,
but those things don't belong in that world. They don't look like they exist.
But I'm just saying that was the thing. Everyone was like, we can do all this stuff. And we can shoot everybody just in front of a big green screen, and we can just tell them what to do, and then we can make this amazing. And now you go back and look at it, and you're like, this looks like crap.
Yeah.
Because it was so CG'd, and it was bad CG, good at the time, but bad now.
Yeah. Well, the flip side, I think, is that Terminator 2 kind of moved the bar up for CG effects at the time.
Right, it did.
Yeah.
It was one of those.
It may look a little bit dated now, but it still looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And at the time, it was just like, holy crap.
Well,
we've never seen this. When he walks through those bars in the jail or in the crazy house, and he walks through those bars, everyone was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a really good special effect. It still holds up.
Yeah.
Well, and if you look at it, Star Wars, Terminator 2, Jurassic Park, Matrix, you get those movies that change to steal something from an ER promo, changes everything, right? It's just like, okay, here's the pinnacle now, and then you get all these copycats that are worse off, and then there's another pinnacle where they raise the bar. Just real quick though, I'll let you guys talk, but Stan Winston is one of my heroes. Like, I love Stan Winston, and unfortunately he passed away in 2008, but his makeup effects and special effects that he has done is just absolutely insane. And I wanted to read you guys a few of these because he's one of the guys behind the Terminator stuff. He started his career in 1972 on a TV movie called Gargoyles. All right. Then it works up to Roots, and then The Wiz. Let's see. I'm trying to just hit some of these Heart Beeps, which I actually have the DVD
Heart
for.
Beeps.
Yeah. The Thing, Friday the 13th, Part 3. Something Wicked This Way Comes, Chiller, Edward Scissorhands, Terminator 2, Batman Returns, Interview with a Vampire, Island of Dr. Moreau, Austin Powers, Galaxy Quest, Pearl Harbor, Artificial Intelligence, The Time Machine, Terminator 3, Constantine, and then his special effects is like the Relic Congo. That's a cue for you, Kyle.
Ugly Gorilla. Amy, Ugly Gorilla.
Monster Squad, which we've talked about. Predator, which we've talked about. Predator 2.
Predator was awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love the way
Terminator 2. Of course. Small Soldiers. Instinct. Lake Placid. Inspector Gadget. End of Days. And he was on Jurassic Park. Like, he was part of the team with Jurassic Park. And so you look at these, and he helped make these movies more believable because he's got like Terminator 2, Jurassic Park, once again, just hitting all of those beats. Iron Man. He did the special effects for Iron Man.
A legendary career, man.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
he's the guy, the monster guy, the man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Changed the industry.
Yep. So
crazy.
Anyway, I'm sorry. Go on with your overalls.
Yeah. I think Tom had something he wanted to say.
There's the scene at the end of Aliens where they think they're trapped by the mommy alien, and Bishop kind of comes up behind them because he had to circle around. They're like standing in front of a railing, and the camera kind of pushes in on them, and it's like really, really bad green screen. It was one of those moments where I'm watching it, and like it took me out of the movie in a normally a really bad way, where I was like, oh God, that's awful. But then like a split second later, I was like, shit, the special effects in this movie are really good, because that's the first time that's happened in the entire movie. And it happens right at the end. And I was like, wow, it's actually held up so far so good. So that was one of those times where, something bad happened, but it just kind of helped underline how good it had been the entire movie.
I felt the same way with the Terminator 2 night driving scene after they escaped the mental hospital. Is that ringing a bell for anyone? You can definitely tell that they're using rear and side projection.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I did notice that there were a couple times with the flying the ship, the drop ship or whatever in Aliens that weren't overly convincing. But even so, I was like, overall, like Tom said, it's pretty solid throughout.
Yeah.
They're like 30 years old.
They're really old. Yeah.
It's really
the thing that took me out of Terminator 2, if anything, was sometimes they would get too close or hold too long on the stuntmen, and you could obviously tell like that's not Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Edward Furlong looks like a jockey. That's a guy who's a jockey.
Are you talking about where the motorcycle jumps?
Yeah,
he
like
picks
a grown
up Edward
man.
Furlong on the motorcycle.
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember that.
Those kind of things. Like that looks like Andrew Dice Clay and a jockey running away from this truck. And I was like, that took me out of it a bit. But then I'm like, holy shit, this chase is fucking insane. I did not expect Terminator 2 to have one of the most amazing car chases I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But it's incredible.
And I like to say that when it comes to the practical effects with like Aliens, like the face huggers, most of those were, puppets and animatronics. They were on set. And to see those things flying through and grabbing onto people, and I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, they would do that digitally now, and I mean, it just held up so much better because they were practical. They were on set.
They were right there.
And
Yeah.
I can't imagine how much petroleum jelly in each camera. I mean, seriously though, the puppets, even the people, I'm sure were just coated in this stuff. But again, one of those things that he added to add depth and add that suspension of disbelief that you so love watching these kind of movies is, that goo was right there. It was touching the people. It felt part of what was happening, and it should be there.
Yeah.
Well, I remember something. I watched some behind the scenes stuff about one of the Jason Bourne movies, and they had this vehicle. They would make it look like the actor was driving, but there was actually a stunt driver attached, usually like above or behind the vehicle.
Yes.
And then they would get into these crazy car stunts and accidents and stuff. And Matt Damon, he called it the
Damon.
Matt Damon. He called it the NAR, the no acting required. Because it was just like you were there, you were in it, and so it was just like your visceral reaction.
Yeah.
And it made me think of that when you were talking about the face huggers and stuff being there on set. Because that thing is convincing enough, even if you know how it's working, it's convincing enough that that'll give you a visceral, believable reaction to it.
Yeah.
The fact that it's right there. If you had to pretend like it wasn't there and you had to pretend entirely that it was there, it wouldn't work as well. And I've also heard for even more recent versions, I haven't seen these, but like Prometheus and Alien Covenant and that kind of stuff, they actually have an actor who dresses like the alien.
Yes.
Yes.
And the other actors are like, holy shit, it's really here.
And not only that, but the guy that plays him is the same guy who does a lot of this character stuff, but he played the huge in Hellboy 2, the big, huge winged angel. He is very tall, very lanky, and he can be in those
Very
suits
skinny.
for hours. And he does a ton of this work, and he's ginormous. So I can't imagine being on set and seeing this 7-foot alien coming at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
For real.
That would give you a more
CG.
believable reaction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Damn, I love movies. You can get paid to do that.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Regularly.
Oh, it's amazing.
All right. Anything else you guys want to add?
Well, I wanted to make a comment that Gabe, you earlier said that you used to turn Terminator 2 on when you did your surround sound.
Yeah.
And I used to do Alien.
Yeah.
Because I enjoyed that you had this sound effects, these surround sound, these little clicks here and there in the background. And it was just, you were so immersed in the film that it was just, you were panicky. You would squeeze the couch as you were watching it. And to me was what sound in a movie should be. I didn't get pulled out by, some cool rocker jam during these moments. It was completely silent except for the sound effects. And you're like, what is happening right now? And that was just so good.
Yeah. I remember one time I was watching Terminator 2, and there's a scene where I think it's Sarah Connor and I think it's her son John pull up to the lab in their car, and there's like this. There's just you can't see them, but there's this like kind of like tire screeching off screen. And we were at my apartment, and I had a parking lot out to that side, and there's that tire screeching, and my friend turned and looked out the window, like, what is going on out in the parking lot? Because it was so convincing that it was really there. They were like turning to look what was happening outside, and I've always like enjoyed the sound in Terminator 2.
So I also was gonna ask, man, maybe this is for everybody, but it feels like Aliens and Terminator 2. I mean, if you didn't know that Terminator or Alien existed, these are standalone movies. These are movies that it wouldn't matter if you saw those because they are so well done that it doesn't matter that I didn't get the first movie background. I can watch them and be like, oh yeah, that's a movie. Cool.
Yeah,
Mm.
true.
I think Terminator might have a little bit harder time because you don't know Arnold was the bad guy in the first movie. It's just kind of told to you.
Sure.
Whereas you meet Ripley 50 years into her space journey and you kind of get the story from there. But yeah, they can stand on their own. And I gotta say, the hype was huge for me to watch Terminator 2. I mean, everyone was telling me
So
it's the greatest action movie of all time. And blah. Holy shit, it lives up. It's so good. It holds up 30 years later.
No, it doesn't.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Look, no, I'm sorry. And it's not the time. And I think the special effects are great, and it did a really great job. And it's as good now as it was back then. But I've seen it too many times.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm warning you all, slow the hell down.
I'm wide-eyed. I just saw it for the first time, and to me, it's the best movie ever.
And it was that way when I saw it too. So
I've seen it multiple times, and I have to agree, it's one of the best action movies made.
And out of both of them, I think we've talked about it multiple times, but as one big lump sum, both of those movies have made iconic dialogue that is ripped off and used and parodied, as well as the visuals. I mean, even the aliens bursting out of somebody's chest was parodied in Spaceballs. I mean, they've built this thing that people immediately know and recognize, from the sound to the music to all that stuff in between. That says something for both of these films.
That's true.
Yeah,
it's very
they're
true.
absolutely iconic movies.
All right.
The Dark Road. Ugh.
All right.
Sorry.
Let's put it to a vote. Gabe.
Man. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Terminator 2 because that's definitely the one I've returned to the most often.
Oh.
But both are great, but I'm gonna give Terminator 2 my vote.
All right. Tom.
And I'm giving it to Aliens for repeatability, because I think between now and when I die in 2065, I think I'll see Aliens more between now and then than Terminator 2.
All right, Kyle.
I've only seen Terminator 2 once, so I will probably watch it again. Man, these are so close to me. So much better than last month with Earthquake and San Andreas. Where one movie just won by default. Default.
Nice.
Have you been waiting for that, Kyle?
Thank you for the Actually, no, it just came to my head. See, so you can tell by the way I say words, I'm not skilled. Man, this is so difficult for me. I'm gonna give it to Aliens, but man, it's close.
All right.
Man, it's so close.
All right, Andrew.
I'm in the same boat. I don't know. I've seen both of the movies many times. I love watching them. They're the kind of movies that if it's on TBS, even with commercials, I could sit down and I could watch it. I'm gonna go with Terminator 2. I think on this one, and that's by a mere tiny shred of metal.
Nice. All right. Given Arnold Schwarzenegger's $15 million salary and his total of 700 words of dialogue, he was paid $21,429 per word. Hasta la vista, baby cost $85,716.
What a gig. If you can get that gig, that's amazing.
Most expensive phrase said on camera.
Good life.
Holy shit.
In Aliens, the word fuck is used 25 times in the film. 18 of them are spoken by Hudson.
Yeah, he is foul.
Yeah.
So I found those pretty damn funny. All right. Let's go ahead and go to our recommendations for this month, and we'll take it back to the top. Tom.
Okay, so there's a lot of cool ways we can go with this. You can do like another James Cameron movie. And it's hard to go wrong there. I'm going to go with sequels that were better than the original. And And I'm going to go with, and I'm sorry, I don't want to say that Aliens is better than Alien. That's not really fair because Alien was really amazing. But
it's a different film. They're both.
It is a different film.
Yes.
It is. It's more of a thriller. It's more of a thriller than a horror movie, I feel.
Yep.
Yes.
But I'm going to recommend Paddington 2.
Wait, what?
Paddington.
I love it.
Now listen.
Game over, man. Game over.
Game over.
I'm departing from the genre and I'm sticking with this theme. And Paddington, if you haven't seen it, I have kids and I am very discerning about what they watch. We have a rule, like if the Metacritic is below 30, they have to pay for my ticket and the popcorn for me to go with them. If it's 30 to 60,
but it's your money they're paying.
My
for, right?
God.
no, they have no. It's their allowance. If it's 30 to 60, then everyone buys their own ticket, and if it's above 60, I'll take them. Paddington was like in the high 80s, I think, maybe even the 90s. So we all went to the first one, and it was fantastic, and the second one was even better, and it's absolutely delightful and funny, and the slapstick stuff is really great, and the jokes all land perfectly, and it's a really great story. It's not your typical family movie fare because it's a movie that you enjoy sitting through. So my recommendation is Paddington's really great, but Paddington 2 is even more superior. So check it out. I'm sorry. I know that you're just like, why are you recommending this on our last episode of Action Summer? But it's an absolutely wonderful movie, and check it out.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Kyle.
I love it. I actually am gonna go with a sequel that I think is better than the original as well, and that is X2, the sequel to the first X-Men movie from the early 2000s.
Yeah.
It's really good. Moving on. It's better. I like the X-Men movie. It's better in every way than the original X-Men movie. And then it all goes off the fucking rails when X3 comes out.
Do you like First Class or do you hate First Class?
I like First Class okay.
I
It's very
like
different.
X-Men's First Class.
Yeah. But X2 2003, Brian Cox is your bad guy. I'm a big Brian Cox fan. You got Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman getting more experience in their roles, Ian McKellen back as Magneto. It's just great. I think it's better than X-Men. And it's one of the first times I remember watching a sequel and going, oh, this is better than the original. That almost never happens, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So that's my recommendation.
All right. Thanks, Kyle. Andrew?
Well, I will do the same. I will stick with a sequel that was better than the original as my main one. But I do want to give you out, Action Summer ending too. But I would say Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I thought was better than the first one, even though I loved the first one too. But the second one was so good. Just so good. I enjoyed every minute of it. And for your action, Rampage. And I know that I'm telling you, it was a fun movie to watch. It's got cool creatures, and The Rock is hilarious in it. There you go.
I enjoyed it. I really did.
Jumanji, the third Jumanji. There you go. There's a sequel that was better than the original. That was fantastic with The Rock. And Jack Black. Oh, there you go. Sorry, that was 3.
Wow,
3. I overdid
Jumanji 2 or what?
Jumanji Welcome to the Jungle, which is the third one.
Yep.
It's technically the third one. Sorry.
All right. Thanks, Andrew. Gabe.
Well, I sometimes struggle because we've been doing this for so long. I can't remember and don't have good records of what I've recommended before.
Wait, weren't you supposed to be the one that did that?
I was supposed to. And I have records. I have some records, but only. What episode did you say we're on?
89.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, if you repeat yourself, it's because you're a Terminator.
Right. So
no pressure.
I have records. I have consistent records up to episode 53.
Or the Matrix
That's
is
pretty good.
So a little bit behind.
Yeah.
But
still, that's good.
So have I recommended Ex Machina before?
I want to say someone has. but
I feel like somebody has, but it didn't come up in my list, and I don't know. Maybe I have before, but it's a fantastic sci-fi film.
Yes. Yes.
And it's interesting because in the world of big budget films, it's a pretty low budget film, and I was really happy that it actually won some. It won Oscars for visual effects on that budget because they're just really fantastic, and it's a real thinker. It makes you think. It's fun to watch. It's engaging, and it makes you think. And I think Ex Machina. If I have not recommended it before, and you haven't seen it yet, you should check it out. It's a good film.
Here.
Thank you.
all right. Oh, all those are great films, and I'm sure I'm going to see Paddington and Paddington 2 soon in my life. I mean, with the little one, I'm sure it's going to happen. So
Good.
I might have to adopt that whole Metacritic thing, Tom.
Yeah, that's good.
Dude,
Good idea.
That's
It's so
great.
fantastic, dude. I didn't have I got the biggest popcorn at Smurfs Lost World, and it's pretty sweet.
That might come and bite me back in the ass, though, because
Did you get
sometimes
two bucket?
I like bad movies too. But
Did you get two
No,
buckets?
bad kid movies are the worst. I mean, they're really bad because they even grade on a curve on Metacritic with kids movies. And they're just like, oh, it had Matthew McConaughey in it, so we'll give it a little bit higher score. But no, it's like if it's a 12, fuck, just don't.
all right, so before I give my recommendation, I wanted to go through. We were talking about sequels better than the originals, and I've been looking at some lists, and there's some consistencies. Obviously, Aliens and Terminator 2 are always on these lists, but Superman 2, The Road Warrior, Star Trek.
Yeah, it's better than Mad Max. Yeah.
Yeah,
Star Trek 2.
Yep, Wrath of Khan, which we've done.
For sure.
Here's one I don't agree with: Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom.
Raiders of the Lost Ark is fantastic.
Who said that? What?
Yeah, it's on BuzzFeed. So
Nobody thinks
And
nobody
talk
thinks
about-
Temple Doom's better than
Temple is no one. No.
Evil Dead
Talk
2.
about action scenes.
Yeah, Evil Dead 2.
The truck scene in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
But
is fantastic.
isn't Evil Dead 2 just a remake of Evil Dead
It
1?
pretty much is.
Yes.
Yeah.
With a bigger budget or so, yeah,
It is
whatever.
not.
Okay, they also have Batman Returns on here, which is like no.
What?
Toy Story 2, which I could
They're
probably see.
both really good.
Blade 2, which I can see.
Yeah.
X2, which is Kyle's. Spider-Man 2, which yes. Let's see here. The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
still,
That was
But
almost
shit,
a
I mean,
perfect
that's-
movie.
Yeah, you're talking
Batman
9
Begins is
versus
not terrible.
8-5 or whatever. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
still really good.
but it's a setup.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a setup movie.
All right, so my pick for this month, I'm not going with the sequel. I am going with an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie, which I'm guessing none of you have seen. My dad and I used to love watching this, and it is goofy. It is almost like they tried making a live-action Looney Tunes movie.
Total Recall.
But with Kirk Douglas in it. It is called The Villain, and it's from 1979. It's directed by Hal Needham, who also did The Smokey and the Bandits, and he's kind of known for his like over-the-top goofiness at times. But it stars Kirk Douglas, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Margaret, who is absolutely gorgeous in that movie. Paul Lynde, Foster Brooks, Ruth Buzzy, and Jack Elam. And Mel
The Villain?
Tillis.
The Villain.
Yes, it's called The Villain. Originally, it was called, I believe, Cactus Jack.
Oh.
And they changed the name of it. But it's got Schwarzenegger in a cowboy hat and this blue, Old West style shirt. Oh, it's great. And of course, Kirk Douglas is dressed all in black leather. It's fantastic. It's great. It only has a 5.4 rating. So, I mean, if you do watch it, just kind of watch it with an open heart and just kind of laugh at some of the stuff that happens. It is actually kind of funny. So check out The Villain. All right.
That's funny. I've never heard of that movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Crazy.
I've heard of Cactus Jack, but I'm not sure from where.
Yeah, it's got Kirk Douglas. I can't do a Kirk Douglas, but I can do a Charlton Heston. All right.
Watch me blast my pecs.
All right, let's move on to Poking the Monkey. Find out who won. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner by decision is Terminator 2!
Hey!
Wow.
I didn't know. It was a tough one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was very tough.
Mike, we have breaking news.
What? What?
Is that
What
when
the
you want
what?
me to- Is that when you want
Dun
to
dun 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 dun.
That's good.
Okay. What's
That's good. We gotta keep the Terminator theme going. That's pretty good.
Okay.
I just so the a little softer. So but keep it going. The the Academy has announced that they're adding a new category to the Oscars this year. This is not an onion. I'm just getting word in now. Apparently, they are adding Best Popular Film to the Oscars.
What? Are you serious?
This is not an onion article. They are adding. They haven't put out the criteria yet. I assume it's got to have something to do with the amount of box office will make them eligible. But yeah, they're going to add a category called Best Popular Film.
Do you think it's going to be based on like Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb scores?
If they bring in Rotten Tomatoes, which I think is absolutely the worst aggregate on the internet for judging movies, because like every week it's like it's got a perfect score. I'm like, every movie that comes out every Friday has a perfect score. Like there was a run.
Than Citizen Kane.
Yeah,
every
and
movie.
so I don't. Please don't include Rotten Tomatoes in it. But yes, they are going to add Best Popular Film to the Oscars this year.
Best
Bad idea.
film.
So I guess
Yeah.
I mean, so you know, if I had to guess, it would have to be something like they take any movie that made over $150 million, they whittle it down to 5 that are artistically, you know,
That means Infinity War could win
Passable.
an Oscar.
yeah. So then they take the top 5 artistically. They think that would, you know, their best made movies. You know, they can't be shit. And then, and then they throw those to the Academy members and they vote. So.
Yeah, if
Like,
maybe
what do you
the
think?
Academy members weren't voting, and if it was popular vote by actual moviegoers, maybe.
No.
Then it's just the MTV Movie Awards.
I
no,
know. That's
I
what
think
I'm
you gotta
Like
keep
Daisy
you gotta-
Fuentes and Dan Cortez come out with a surfboard, and they give it to Joey Wolf or whatever that guy from Party of Five's name was. Scott Wolf.
Okay, so
Yeah, it sounds like a bad idea.
hold on.
Yes.
It does sound like a bad idea, but that means Black Panther could also win an Oscar.
Black Panther. Well, see, and part of it, I think, there's some of the speculation, and they have, like I said, they haven't put the criteria out, is that they feel like Black Panther won't get nominated in the Best Picture category, and I don't think it would.
No.
You know, I don't think it's one of the 9 best movies this year, but it's great, but it's not one of the 9 best. And so I think this is one of their ways of heading it off, but it just, I don't know. I've gone back and forth on it. I was going to say all day, but in the last 30 seconds, but
so they're doing this, but they still don't do an Oscar for stunt work.
they don't do it for stunt work or choreography or, you know, voiceover work or anything like that. No, they're doing Best Popular Film.
This is my problem with the Academy.
Well, you're not going to like the other change they're making too.
What's that?
They're going to be giving away several awards over the commercial break at the Dolby Theater, and then they're going to edit down the acceptance speeches of these people who put their life's work out there, and they've just been received a Lifetime Achievement Award for, you know, Best Short Animated Film or, you know, Best Editing, and they're going to get cut up and spliced, and their acceptance speeches are going to be edited by a third party, which that pisses me off more than
That's kind of ironic for Best Editing.
Okay, Best Editing, you know that the Best Editing won't be one of the ones that they do because
It'll be like all the short foreign films or all of the kid films and all the stuff that people are like, yeah, we don't know what that is, so we don't care.
But they need to add choreography. They need to add stuntmen or stunt
Yes.
work.
Yeah.
This is.
I've always said
Is
those
it-
two be the same. They should do best choreography and include dancing and fighting in the same, and just just directing human bodies. And I think that would be, because a couple years ago, my favorite example is you'd have La La Land versus Deadpool. I mean,
that would be awesome.
That would be so much fun to talk about.
You could create a set piece like you do at the Tonys or something. You can have the choreographers or dancers do those to like highlight the category. You have them all dancing on the same stage together. Deadpool, La La Land.
Yeah,
great, fun.
The Greatest Showman this year. Holy crap! The choreography in that was unreal.
It sucks for the short and the foreign films guys because they are so excited when they get up there. Yes! That's one of my favorite parts of the Oscars. Yes! People are blown away.
Foreign film won't go to. They won't do the foreign film over the commercial. That's a pretty big award, and it's that's the worldwide audience award. So,
but it's a lot of times they do like all the weird foreign short animated films that somebody won at some short competition that they spent however long doing, and then they peddled it themselves across the United States or wherever, and they want to stand up in front of all these people that nobody knows who they are and be able to cry to mom because holy crap, that's their dream.
Yeah.
And they're going to take that away from them.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
I know. And, and I feel, I'm worried about things like production design and, there's some other ones in there that are just going to, get pushed off, and it's just not, I mean, I don't know how you pick ones to throw during the commercial, where there's certain ones that just don't, not everybody is going for a best actor award. You can't tell me the guy that wins best short animated film isn't more excited than, the guy that wins best actor. I mean, they both hit their Everest that night, and they should both be able to be live on TV. So
they're going to pick them by lesser known stuff. People are going to no one's going to know who that is. And that's who they're going to cut.
There's plenty of other shit to cut from that show. We do not need We do not need a montage on the history of elevator scenes from Hollywood's history. So, and now a tribute to elevators.
Do that shit on Twitter leading up to it. Put that on the Oscar website as like a web short or a web video. You don't have to broadcast it during your 4-hour show.
How about before, when they do the behind the red carpet crap that you can watch at the same time as the Oscars?
Oh my God, yes.
Here.
Hire us, Hollywood.
Well, and the people they're trying to win aren't going to watch no matter what you do to the show. That's the other thing too. As a movie fan, I watch the 4 hours of the Oscars because I love movies and I want to see a celebration of them. And it's like a baseball game going to extra innings. Awesome. More entertainment. And now they're more concerned about shortening it up, and they don't even care about alienating me, which today's two decisions are getting close. So,
or alienating the people that actually, this is their dream. This is their lives, like us kind of filmmakers that are small town, and we do these things because we bleed film. This is, that makes me sick. Way to make me all up and roar.
Well, Andrew's not going to bed tonight.
Well,
thanks a lot,
Gabe. Now we know why you came back.
Why? What? Why I came back? What?
Oh, his scanning is complete.
You're here to stop this from happening, Gabe. Yeah. You've been sent by Tom in the future. He's engineered you and sent you back to stop this from happening at the Oscars.
Yes.
Oh, yes. Yeah, I can stop it. But
I mean, you were literally
very
built for this, Gabe.
You were talking about like how this is like the standard and how people aspire to this, winning an Oscar, and it's like the culmination of their life's work and that kind of thing. But like how important is that really? A lot of people put a lot of importance on that, but it's like it's kind of the industry congratulating itself. And
it is.
There's a part of me that has always had fantasies of winning an Oscar and being on that stage and just like, to me that would be the most amazing thing. But there's also a part of me that's like, what difference does that make? I mean, I suppose it makes a difference in your career. A lot of actors' careers are launched, on an Oscar-winning performance, and and it's used for marketing these films and selling these films. But really, how important is that? If you're, if you really love film and you really love the art of filmmaking, I think adding a popular film category to the Oscars lowers its importance for people like that. Like, who gives a shit about the most popular film? Let's talk about films that mean something. Yeah. And maybe sometimes they're the same, but not all.
I agree. I don't make movies because I want to stand on that stage. Have I ever thought about it? It would be really cool, but that's not why I make movies. I don't make movies I'm right now dusting off a specific spot on my mantle because that's where my Oscar one day is going to go. I make movies because I have passion for movies, for the people that are viewing it, and for what I can do to bring people that kind of entertainment that is in my crazy little head. I think there is that part of it as well, but it's still, I think it dumbs down the Oscars and what they stand for.
I definitely think it hurts the kind of like reputation of the Oscars and the notoriety.
It feels like it's going to be based on money.
Yeah.
Well,
Oscars has already been based on money. It's how much money you throw into for your consideration and
the Oscar campaign.
Yes.
And honestly, if a movie, they're just kind of pulling back the veil. A movie has to make a certain amount of money for it to be considered for the Oscars. A movie can be really, really good, but if it flops at the box office, it's not going to win. So, how many times?
Even if it made it there.
Yeah. And so I think the biggest criticism I think movie lovers have against the Oscars is they get it wrong so many times. And now it's just kind of like they're admitting it now. They're just like, well, you know what? Yeah, we don't care anymore. We're just, this is a business and we're making business decisions from here on out. So
do you think it raises the viewers and brings in more casual viewers?
No.
Okay. I don't know.
Just one award. They're not going to sit there for 3 hours. And let's be serious. It's not going to be 3 hours. It'll be 3.5 or 4.
Yeah.
They talk about cutting it down every year, and it never cuts down.
And then where in the show does that award appear? Does that appear just before Best Picture?
Yeah, I bet it'll be.
Or is it somewhere earlier in the show, like halfway through the show?
I bet it'll be
before Best Actor and Actress and all that jazz.
They'll put it with Best Animated Feature, and they'll just this is the popular section of the show. And they did that. They put Best Animated Feature. They added that years ago, and it didn't help the ratings that much. My kids love that category. It's like, oh, Kubo, and they're
and I don't have any problem with that category. I think that's a legitimate category.
It is a legitimate category, yes, but its inclusion was to help boost ratings and get more populist movies in there. And I think they did that, and then they expanded the Best Pictures from 5 to up to 10, and that didn't do it. And they keep making these changes to try and bring more people in, and it's not working. What they need to do is, make it a more entertaining show, I guess.
Right, but make it a more concise, entertaining show.
And for me, the acceptance speeches, that's my favorite part of the show. I love just the raw emotion of it, and just seeing these people reach that point, and to know that they're going to be edited. That's just. They're still on the show. They'll still get the recognition and you'll see them, but they'll get a quick 15 seconds of their speech. So,
but I hated that even when a few years ago when they started doing it, where if you hear the music, you just got to stop talking no matter what you're saying, and we bring up the entire cast and everyone's got to say something real quick, but it's not quick enough. So we're going to we play music over you. We can't hear you. We'll shut your mic off. Peace out.
Yeah.
All right, boys, let's terminate this episode.
Gabe, stop this Oscars from happening.
Yes.
It's what you were made for.
I'm going back now.
Tom, where can people find you and maybe discuss your distaste for the latest Oscar category?
I'm on Vimeo still, and Facebook, and not Instagram yet because I don't like vertical video. But generally, Generally, people can find me on LV426, listening to Guns N' Roses and protecting small children from aliens, liquid robots, and liquid alien robots.
Very nice. Kyle.
Thank you.
You can find me on Facebook if you'd really like. I guess I'll join Twitter during the Best Popular Movie ceremony coming up at this year's Oscars. And my first tweet will be day one. I said it was a great idea. Black Panther wins an Oscar. Something like that. Real hacky. It'll be great.
Right. All right. Thanks, Kyle. Andrew.
You can find me on ArizonaInkStudios.com, and I'm on Twitter, AZ Ink Studios. I'm on Instagram and YouTube. And then, I'm in the deep, dark cave of the house where I make the real world seem a lot more livelier with my visual effects and magic.
Okay, Gabe, before you go out to California, you need to...
Yeah, you can look me up on Facebook if you want to, although I don't spend a lot of time there. And you can check out our 48-hour films on onegenomeShort.com.
Speaking of which, Gabe, have you heard if you've made Best of City yet? Have they announced those?
Not that I'm aware of yet. Right. I'm expecting that we'll know either tomorrow or Friday.
All right.
We did not. We haven't won any Audience Choice Awards or anything this year, but I'm hoping we make Best of City.
All right. Well, good luck, man.
Good luck.
Good luck, Gabe.
All right. Well, you can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, whatever. I'm on there. The studio's on there as well. You can also visit southsiderstudios.com that just has an under construction page that's been up for like 12 years. And you can view most of our films on YouTube. Just search Southsider Studios. And we, as in the royal we of this podcast, would appreciate it if you could leave us a review on iTunes or whatever podcasting service you use. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search CineSmack. For September, we test our might as Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat try to give each other a fatality. And Tom,
Mortal Kombat!
Man, I thought this was a joke.
and Tom will want to gouge his eyes out.
If I have to spend $1 at Amazon to track down these two movies, I'm going to be really pissed off.
Who's the robot now if I have to spend one money?
Did I say
Learn
one funny?
English.
Yes.
Learn English, robot.
That's it. You're terminated.
Your kids would have to pay for you to go see both of these movies. I'm sure their Metacritics are bargain basement. Make your kids rent these for you and make you popcorn.
That's actually not a bad idea. I mean,
For Gabe, Kyle, Tom, Andrew, and myself, thanks for listening, and go catch a flick.
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.